The live stream, everybody. How is it going? So thrilled to have you here with us today. It is Thursday. Thursday's the day around here, right? We've been doing this now 4 years. Thank you so much to everybody who joined me for the 4-year celebration. That was such a special anniversary and was so fun just to run all those giveaways and to celebrate what we've been doing here. So as you start showing up to the stream, definitely pop into the chat, say hey, what's happening, where are you from, and what time it is. I always love knowing who the super committed middle of the night folks are. I think that's going to be our friends in Australia and New Zealand. Hey, Jennifer's here. Welcome, Jennifer. So we have an exciting lineup for us all here today. I'm super thrilled at the guest who is joining us, lending her expertise and her insights on marketing and building your business in photography. And we also have some wonderful guests who are going to be our willing victims, not victims. No, they're they are fellow photographers who are looking for some insights and some expertise from Amy. And certainly I'm happy to weigh in on my perspectives as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun talking about business here today, talking about marketing and building our businesses. Hey, Shannon from Indiana, Elizabeth from Chicago. We have Chicago in the house. I love it. And Jeff from Philadelphia. So real quick, let's just get a little temperature gauge on how everybody's doing today. Obviously, I feel like I log onto social media and it's like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And, it's just like a wild time in life right now. And so I always like to do a little check-in here, see how everybody's at. So if you could pop into the chat, with just a rating of 1 to 5. Let's be honest how we're doing today, right? Like 1 being today's not going so well. To 5, like we are on cloud 9, we're doing great. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle, or maybe you're neutral. But I know that I'm a 5 right now because I have got a guest here today who I admire greatly. What she does and the knowledge that she shares online is absolutely incredible. It's an honor to have her here with me today. So I want to give a proper introduction. Let me make sure too I have my notes. Y'all know how I get distracted, right? Notorious for getting distracted. Oh, excellent. Oh, Ashley's an 8. You're an 8 out of 5. Yes. Living the dream. We got some Donald. I hope your day starts to look up. Hopefully you get some stuff here from us here today that boosts your spirits. But it's okay to be a 1 too sometimes, right? Because to be a 5 some days, you got to be 1s other days. But let's move on with our big agenda here today. I don't want to waste any more time. So our guest here today is Amy V. Cooper. She is a personal mindset and business coach and photography consultant with over 20 years of experience. She has worked on all sides of the camera as a professional photographer, photography agent, advertising agency, art buyer with TV networks. She's been a magazine photo editor. I mean, she has done it all. And she has worked with brands like UPS, MTV, Essence Media, Coca-Cola, Kendra Scott, many, many more. If you go to her website, amyvcooper.com, you will be able to see all of her credentials. And as a consultant for photographers, she helps photographers in reaching the clients that they dream about through coaching, portfolio reviews, her incredible masterclasses. I am a big fan and thrilled to have her here with us today. Amy V. Cooper, what is happening?
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here with you one-on-one. I love it. I love what you're doing. And I have to tell you, Joni, it's so amazing how much content you're providing and how transparent you are with your work and your guidance and your support. It's so beautiful.
Thank you so much. That means a lot because I first remember coming across your stuff. I think it was through Instagram. Somebody shared something out, and you had done a blog post about different examples of great promo pieces that people were doing, and I thought, oh, this is genius. And so bringing your expertise to the internet and to the World Wide Web has been great. So for those of you who are not currently following Amy, you got to get your life together. All of her links are in the description box below, so you can find her on Instagram at Amy V. Cooper. You can also find links to her marketing masterclass, which I'm sure we will touch on here a couple times today. It's, I kind of say it's a no-brainer to me, because I think about what you offer in your marketing masterclass, like all the questions I'm always getting from folks about marketing. And it's like, well, Amy's already answered it. It's all in this course. Now, this is a new course for you, yeah?
The commercial photography marketing masterclass, that's my self-paced course. That was my COVID baby. So I created that during COVID lockdown because I realized that all of my clients had the same questions, but not all of them could afford to have one-on-ones with me. So I wanted to put everything in one place. So I could just be like, just go to the masterclass. Everything's in there. Everything that has been in my brain for the past 20 to 25 years is all in there.
It's all in there.
Really good. I'm not going to be shy about saying it's really good.
I love that. I think we should all be more bold and toot our own horns, and it really is. I've been through it. It's incredible. And in addition to that, for the folks who would ever want to go deeper with you, you also offer one-on-ones, consultations, as well as, to me, something that can be very scary if you've never done it before as a photographer, but so incredibly valuable, or as a portfolio review. So for anybody who's not been through a portfolio review, can you kind of just give a little synopsis of what that is and why you'd want to do it?
Yes, absolutely. So over the years that I've been consulting, I've developed this package. I call it my portfolio review and marketing strategy consultation. And that is really for anyone at any stage in their career. Usually I'm attracting photographers who are kind of stuck. They're not sure why they're not getting to the next level, or they want to change things up. So what that is we go through your website portfolio and all of your social media platforms. And I also take a look at your marketing strategy, if you have one. A lot of people don't have one. And I help you with whatever it is you need help with. So maybe that's more clearly defining your target market so you understand what's missing from your portfolio. Usually photographers will need help understanding the right language to use on their website, in their social media, to attract the kind of clients that they want. So should I be calling my portfolio sweet and savory, or should I be calling it food and drink? Should I call it restaurant? Should I call it lifestyle? What is lifestyle? So understanding the language that your audience is speaking, or the audience that you really want to be attracting.
Fabulous.
And then how to edit the work, and also a basic marketing strategy that not only works for the clients that you're trying to target, but works for you, because I don't believe that we all should be doing the same marketing strategy. It really depends on who your market is, and also what you feel comfortable with. Yeah, I love it. It's a great place to start. So I recommend that my clients start with that portfolio review marketing strategy consultation.
Yeah. I say, kind of on that topic of doing what works for you, one of the things that definitely stuck out in my mind, having gone through your course, was the idea, and I felt like this was revolutionary, and perhaps not something that a lot of people say, but if there is a platform, or there is, particularly in social media land, if there's a platform that's not working for you, or draining you, or taking away from your creativity, don't do it. I felt like there was this major freedom to say it doesn't have to be a cookie cutter. Does that still ring true?
Absolutely. Even more so now. I mean, you really have to figure out, and now in my business, I'm talking a lot about energetic marketing. And if you are going to Instagram and your body's tensing up and you're just like, oh, I don't want to be here, you shouldn't be there, because you're putting out bad energy. So you have to figure out what feels comfortable for you. And if something doesn't feel comfortable, there's an opportunity to explore why and how to make it feel more comfortable. So for my photographers, I really feel like, even though I hate Instagram, I feel like I have to be on there. We talk about ways where they can just jump in and out. plan things, or ways where they can just get their energy pumped up before they go on there so they can enjoy it. Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, I felt very relieved when I heard you say that. I was like, "Oh, good." So, we don't have to be all the things to all the platforms all the time.
You
So,
don't have to dance on TikTok.
oh, but Amy, I feel like that's my calling. No, it's not. No, it's not. I love it. Now you've had such a varied career. I mean, you really have been on all sides of the camera, all sides of the industry. As like my curiosity is, as you were pivoting from role to role, what were you taking sort of things that you learned in previous roles into the others? Like, what was that progression like for you? And how does that set you up today, like for what you're doing?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's all a journey. For me, there's no end. I'm always evolving.
Mm.
Um, so I started working as an intern at Elle Decor magazine in New York City. And at the time, I just wanted to be a fashion photographer, but this opportunity came to me. And it was funny because eventually I later became really passionate about photographing interiors. So I took that with me, but I definitely learned so much working in editorial, learning how to work with photographers and getting to know stock. And then a lot of that stock work I brought into my next job, which was MTV, and also how to find and hire photographers. And then, all of that translates into going into advertising and being able to produce shoots for them. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Everything just goes from one thing to the next, and it builds and it builds. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of think about too the idea that, I'm sure there's plenty of folks who are here with us in the live stream who, we get this very kind of narrow perspective, I think, on what the photography industry is, and that it's being a photographer, but really like there's so many sides to it. And that if you do, maybe you do have an intent to become a photographer, but, and do that professionally. I mean, we're all photographers, right? But that we have like a professional pursuit in that direction, but maybe we need to take a detour over here because those skills can absolutely inform, then I've got to think like our ability to market how we market ourselves to an editorial publication versus a brand versus a network versus, that you have those experiences built. So, I've got to think that it's a positive to become well-rounded in that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, get out of your bubble. Yeah, absolutely agree with that.
Get out of the bubble. I love it. Well, we have some wonderful guests who are joining us here today, who have submitted questions previous to this, who the questions they submitted, I felt like were really resonant with things that I hear a lot. I've got to think you get a lot of Q&As coming in your direction too, Amy. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, that's my life.
Yeah, exactly. So, because you pop up a lot on Clubhouse and, of course, on your Instagram and your socials. So, I felt like the questions that were asked are definitely things that I hear a lot. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm excited to dig into these. So, with no further ado, I'm going to bring up our first guest. We have Ellie from Chicago. Welcome to the party. It's great to have
thank
you
you
here
for having
today.
me.
Absolutely. So you asked a wonderful question, but before we get into there, I just want to have folks get to know you. First of all of our participants today, their Instagrams are linked down in the description box below, so you can follow along, or their portfolios, go check them out. But Ellie, can you just tell us a little bit about your photography, maybe how you got into this, the kind of photography that you do?
Yeah, so I'm a newbie to this. I started a food blog actually about 10 months ago. So I work in a corporate marketing job, and during COVID, we started working from home. So I had all this free time on my hands, and food blogging was something I always really wanted to get into. So I finally took the plunge and did it. And, I have like some marketing background from my degree and my job. I've been cooking my whole life, and I worked in a couple professional kitchens in high school. So I had that, and I knew photography would be kind of the the thing I had to work on the most. So I had a camera, and I actually took a class in college, one class on photography. And, I had all these great ideas in my head. And when I started taking the pictures, they just were not turning out how I wanted them to. So I actually discovered Joni's YouTube channel, and as I'm sure like every food photographer has at some point, and started watching all of your videos, like 3 a day, and just
binge-worthy TV, right?
just trying to improve my photography, and I'm finally to a point where I'm pretty confident in it. I actually just got my first paid photography thing, but I know I have so much room to improve, and I'm trying to balance that with my full-time job and with all of the other stuff with blogging, which I think is kind of leads into what question I was asking you guys.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll bat it out here. So your question was, sometimes I get overwhelmed with all that there is out there to accomplish, everything from SEO to drive good traffic for site ads, growing a large engaged Instagram following to land brand deals, getting, of course, good at food photography. And now we've got Reels and TikTok and YouTube. Oh my gosh, our heads are exploding, right? And who knows what's going to come next. Any advice on prioritization as a relatively new food blogger that also is still working full time? Where should you be putting your energy? So Amy, I would love your insights on this.
Okay, well, first of all, just take a deep breath. You don't have to do it all at once. Just get started. I actually just taught a course on marketing habits, how to create great marketing habits. And it really, because I was inspired by this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the idea of an atomic habit is just to start small, because you want your habits to become, things that you'll do again. If you want to bench press 200 pounds, you don't go to the gym and start at 200. You start at 20, right? So start small, figure out how much time you have for marketing, block time on your calendar, make a recurring meeting with yourself so that you always have that time that you're really focused on what you need to do. I think that starting with SEO is great. I feel like it's something that's really easy to do, especially if you're in a market like Chicago. SEO is a little more difficult if you're, in a really big city like New York or LA. Starting with SEO is great. Instagram, maybe you just challenge yourself to post once a week to start, whatever feels good for you there, and build from there. And also pay attention along the way to how you feel when you're doing these different things. Again, like we were saying earlier, if you don't feel good being on Instagram, go to TikTok or go to YouTube, or, create an email list. So pay attention to how you're feeling when you're doing each task, because that's going to help you prioritize what actually feels good, because that's where you're going to be putting out your best energy. The other thing I would say is pay attention to the return that you're getting. And this may be hard to really determine at first, but over time you'll start seeing, oh, all of my work is coming from word of mouth. I don't really need to spend 5 hours a week on Instagram. That's where I would start. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. That's really helpful. I love the paying attention to how you feel on each thing. I personally think Instagram is really draining. So I've been trying to cut back on that and working more on my newsletter and my website and everything. So I feel more validated hearing that, because in the back of my head, I'm always like, oh, I know I should be on Instagram more.
Yes. And you know what, Ellie? I ask all of my photographers in their questionnaire for their portfolio review, where did your last 5 jobs come from? And I can tell you probably 99% of my photographers never mention Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed. Wow. Yeah. I say for me personally, I think about my Instagram, people go, oh, you must get so many leads from Instagram, because I do have a sizable following, right? But the reality is the leads that come in off of Instagram are usually not what I would say qualified leads. So people who either have the money or the expert, are the kind of clients that I would want to pursue. They usually don't have the budget. And so, yeah, agreed that from the standpoint of growing my Instagram, it's much more about helping and reaching other photographers as that part of my business. So I always say, like, don't look to me as an example of what you should do on Instagram, because my objectives on Instagram are not related to my commercial photography business.
Yeah, another thing I'd love to add there is the way that you are engaging with other people on Instagram is just as important as how much you are posting. So spending some time engaging with the people who you really want to be seeing your work show up in their feed, pay attention to that engagement. I say spend a little, if you're about to post something new on Instagram, spend about half an hour. Go to the Instagram pages of the people who you really want to be seeing your work, engage with them, like their photo, look at their stories, make a comment on one of their posts if it feels authentic, then do your post. And then if they're following you, they are more likely to see your post and start engaging with you. And also, I delete Instagram from my phone many times a week. So post, and when you start feeling that tension, just delete the app and get out of there.
Good strategy.
I will be following that. I like that idea.
We should institute like a national delete your Instagram day. I mean, I don't know. Is that a good idea?
Yeah, this is a great idea.
I love it. Well, thank you, Ellie, so much for asking this great question. I'm sure I'm already seeing other folks who are resonating with the questions you asked. And certainly thank you, Amy, for the responses there. So thank you, Ellie. It was great to have you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Treat. All right. So next up on our list, we have another fabulous photographer. But real quick, for folks who are just joining us, we have Amy V. Cooper here, incredible consultant for photography marketing. Anybody who is interested in her marketing masterclass, there is a link to it down below. And she has also offered a special discount code that is effective through October 23rd. It was down in the description box below. So go check that out, punch it in, gain all the knowledge, and get the strategy. I loved what you said in the intro. You're like, for folks who have a strategy. I mean, the number of people who come to you when you start to do portfolio reviews and that you're consulting with them, if you could put a percentage on it, how many photographers come to you that don't have an actual strategy in place?
99%.
Oh,
yeah.
Is that, do you think, because why is that? Is that because they don't know what the strategy is, or?
I think that they don't. I think they're just like thinking about, oh, I guess other people send emails or post on Instagram, but they don't really think about the actual strategy, or they don't know, like, how often am I supposed to be doing this? And also, you know, what to say, things like that. So also in my masterclass, there is a full year marketing strategy calendar. So when you go, to the coffee shop on your marketing day, you have a calendar in front of you that says, okay, it's March. These are great things to do in March. And I think having that structure makes it a lot less overwhelming.
Yes, absolutely. Having a structure, and again, from somebody who has been on all sides of the industry, knows what photo editors are looking for, knows what, the various types of people in the industry are looking for. So it's not just one kind of client, because I think that's another thing that's really remarkable about your expertise, is your experience across a wide breadth of different types of clients, that it's not just the big, I mean, we hear the Coca-Colas, we hear the MTVs, the Kendra Scotts, and people are like, whoa, but also then having an understanding specifically of food, and smaller clients and direct clients, working directly with brands. So I'm thrilled that you have that expertise to share with us. So let's move on to our next guest here today, Annelien from Johannesburg, South Africa. I am so thrilled to have her here with us today. Welcome to the party. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. So you had a great question to pose to Amy, but before we get into it, and it's about pricing. We all love to talk about pricing, right? So before we jump into that question, can you just share a little bit about the kind of food photography that you do?
The food photography that I mostly do is for my own brand that I do. But after doing my own branded stuff, and showing my readers how a recipe, a very technical recipe, is supposed to look like and doing process shots. Then people did start to see my work, and then they started asking me, will you do this for us? And then I started putting quotes out, because now I have to do the photography and the styling, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then if you quote them, then they start bickering about the price, and then I almost do everything for free. So I'm at that stage in my life that I'm just like, I'm so overwhelmed. And in South Africa currently, where I'm living, also I'm living on the countryside. So for me to travel, it is really 2 or 3 hours to go to a job. So traveling, that's the one thing. So for me, working remotely, and also as we chatting here now, I set up a full studio for me to be able, with COVID, to contact my clients in Cape Town or in the Netherlands, going back and forth. So doing the pricing for South Africa wise is almost working for free. And then working internationally, I can actually see that the people is paying because they understand what the process is all about, because you have to plan the shot, the season, produce that's available. So all that sourcing. Then you have to start with planning the shoot style-wise. What is the feel is going to be. So you plan for 2 days on this, and then you give it to the client, and they tell you, oh no, this is too much in South Africa. And I'm like, okay, I need the job, so I will just do this. And then after a week's work, I'm like, this is too much work for this amount of money. So I don't have the courage. I won't say courage, but yeah, it's difficult to price. I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know.
Good question. Well, I love it. Well, so just to recap the question then that you kind of originally submitted, but I think this is really relevant, especially to the international audience that's here with us today. So when it comes to pricing and getting business, understanding what it takes in terms of working with clients, helping them, kind of that education part is a lot of what I'm hearing you say, in terms of, anybody who thinks that a 1 minute video is 1 minute's worth of work is sorely mistaken. So you're currently feeling overwhelmed and bullied by potential clients who aren't willing to pay what it costs to do the work that you do. So I'm super curious, Amy, your insights on situations where we're running across clients who aren't willing to pay what it is that we're worth.
Right. Oh my gosh, this is such a big one. I talk about this a little bit in the masterclass about trying to figure out how much time it takes you from start to finish. So from that first email, because reading an email is time that you should be paid for, all the way to the end of uploading the images to your client. Think about how much time it takes you to do a job, and then decide how much money per hour you feel like your time is worth, and build that all into your price. And also know that it's okay to say no to a client. I really feel like people need to decide what their minimum is going to be and stick to it. If someone's bullying you, they are not somebody that you want to be working with. That is not the energy you need in your business.
Yeah.
And also, I know it's so hard to say no, especially when you're starting out new, but when you can say no to those things that are draining your energy or maybe even costing you money, you're making room for things that are going to be better. So if you feel like that there's that market that can't afford you, don't offer your services to that market. Go to the other market. Focus your energy on that other market. Also, depending on the kind of work that you're doing, if it's content creation, you may just want to post or have a page on your website that you can refer your clients to that is like, this is my starting rate. Here's how it goes up. Here's what you get. So you can just send them to that page and you don't have to constantly educate client after client after client. And the same goes for your licensing and your copyright. It can be so emotional to talk about money and to talk about legal things. If you can lay it out on a page on your website and just point them there and be like, here is what I'm offering. If that doesn't work for you, I hope you find someone great. Bless you. Goodbye. But also, again, get out of your bubble. Talk to other photographers. Come join us on Clubhouse. Don't let anyone bully you. Your time is valuable. You are valuable. I can tell by your gorgeous kitchen that you're valuable. So yeah. And also think about, think about somebody that you admire. Maybe think about Joni and be like, would Joni do this for this price? Hell no. And then just say no.
Yeah.
Because I do think that we can get into a scarcity mentality.
It's a difficult word.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. We got a little delay. Yeah, I think we can sometimes get into a scarcity mentality. I feel like I come across this a lot from folks, where you kind of, you think, we have our limited experiences, especially when we're getting started, and you're interfacing with people and you think that these 1 or 2 or 5 instances illustrate the depth and breadth that is the entire industry. And you just think about, I always think about it like dating, like, granted, some folks just find that one person right off the bat and you're good to go. But, sometimes you got to kind of, there's a lot of fish in the sea. So, sometimes you got to throw some back. And so, not approaching it, ascribing to the entire industry what's been a specific experience with a limited number of clients. Because, I think about some of those early clients that I have that I no longer have for particular reasons, because you realize, oh no, there are people out there who have money. There are people. And I do, granted, I speak from my experience working here in the US, but interfacing with food photographers across the world all the time, I am hearing that don't limit just based on this very specific experiences that you've had. So there are quality clients out there, I promise.
Yeah, and also know that honestly, the more you charge, the more people are going to value the product that you're giving them, and the more they're going to respect you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. So how does that feel, Annie?
No, it's making sense. I said no in the last month, and I was not very. They didn't like the way I said. I just said no, and I didn't even keep on communicating to them.
Yeah.
Good for you. You don't have to explain yourself. This is your price. You know your value.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Somebody said it recently, the pricing, Jenna Carlin's event, and it was no is a full sentence. So I love that. Well, Annie, thank you so much for asking this question. I can see in the comment section, there's other folks who definitely resonate with this. So keep us posted and stay strong in the face of folks who don't understand your value, because there will be folks out there who do, and they're worth working with. Awesome. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
All right. Perfect. So moving on, man, pricing though, it's tricky. I think Andrea Stern recently posted about that. Yeah, pricing is tricky. There are no standards, right? I mean, but did you see that post the other day, Amy, that she posted?
Yes, it's so true. It's completely arbitrary. And also, this is why I really encourage, even in my masterclass, talk to other photographers, be transparent about what you're charging, help each other out. Yeah. Even for people like Andrea and I who have been reps, it's arbitrary for us. Like we have no idea. There's no real union with photography, right? So it's all over the place.
It is. And so you put your best foot forward, and always know that if they didn't negotiate with you, you left money on the table. Last time I sent a bid and they said, okay, I'm like, crap. I'm going to charge more. So always keep that in mind. So let's move on to our next. We have Alexis from Edinburgh. Welcome, Alexis. Great to have you here with us today. So Alexis, can you share a little bit about the kind of photography that you do, why you do food photography?
Sure. So yeah, I'm Alexis. I'm from Edinburgh. And so I started food photography last year when we bought our own flat. It's a long story, but I got into interior designing, and then I started taking pictures of, style, like interior styling, and then I started an Instagram, and then I started to learn about photography, and then it just snowballed into food photography.
I love it.
So yeah, so currently I still have a full-time job. I'm a graphic designer, and so I'm trying to pursue food photography as a side job, mostly because I think my passion for graphic design has kind of dwindled just from working in the kind of corporate world. So when I found food photography, it was like my creativity was kind of I got excited about being creative again. So yeah, that's where I am.
I love it. I feel like there are so many graphic designers in this industry, or folks who end up in food photography that came from graphic design. I feel like I interface with somebody at least once a week. So you're definitely in good company with other graphic designers. But I loved your question, so I'll just repeat it back here. What advice would you have for photographers wanting to get into commercial editorial work, but don't live in a big city where the majority of the jobs are? So is content creation the only viable option? I'm going to toss this to Amy about living in a big city or not.
Joni, I'm actually curious what your answer is to this in terms of food.
Yeah, because I'm in Phoenix, so fifth largest metropolitan city in the US. I always say that with pride, but we're definitely not a large market, and there's not a lot of the resources here that you would have in LA. So I have a friend who does bigger advertising work, and he will, when he has bigger productions that he has here, he brings in usually there's not really a lot of Digitex here, and there's not a lot of kind of some of those peripheral support folks. So he'll bring those in from LA. But for me personally, I do think that I've built my business in line with being here in Phoenix, and some of that is informed by kind of the stage of life I'm at with having small children at home and wanting to, I built my business to work remotely before the pandemic, and that has always served me well. And it hasn't always, though, been necessarily content creation. So I've been able to develop methods for shooting packaging and shooting campaigns and shooting all variety of food photography with the technology that we have available now, which is absolutely incredible that we can collaborate, kind of no matter where people are in the world. And I think too, with the pandemic, it's made it even easier for clients to understand that that's a possibility. So it is something that I'm explicitly clear about on my website, that I work remotely, and kind of what that expectation is and how that sort of works is sort of before we're even into the conversations, that as they're looking at my website, they sort of have an understanding of that. But at the same time, it is a unique opportunity that, I like to advertise Phoenix is a beautiful destination, and come visit and have connections to local hotels. And, it's a destination to, not in the summertime, but in the wintertime, come visit Phoenix. It's gorgeous. So I think that, you're absolutely not limited to content creation, that you can absolutely work with a lot of clients, but you will have certain limits of, folks. At the same time, though, you can fly to those major cities. You can go to those places, so you don't have to feel limited. I think that we're in a global world these days, and so it's much more understandable that you don't have to be limited by geography. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Amy?
I mean, I feel like if there's anything you're really passionate about, you can figure it out. You can figure out how to do it. So I mean, it seems like your city's not that small. I've heard of it. I mean, I'm sure there are some amazing restaurants there and chefs. I imagine there's probably some food stylists there. So just go look for the people that you need to help build your business. Put yourself out there, network. I mean, they're out there. Just go find them. Start creating things. Get clear on what you're really passionate about. And then, people will start coming to you, especially, doing things like food and product. You're not as limited, especially with your city. So the other thing I would say is just plan some time, 1, 2, 3, 4 times a year to travel somewhere and connect with other stylists and chefs or whoever it is, restaurants. I just don't let this idea that you're not in a big city stop you from doing what you want to do. I think that would be a tall order if you were wanting to be a high fashion person and you lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But I think with food, everyone eats, everyone has restaurants. Just make it happen. You'll make it happen.
I think something that was a strategy for me too early that really worked out is there are inevitably some sort of businesses. I mean, unless you're a teeny tiny town, but as long as you're a town of certain size, that there will be businesses that are based where you're at. So like there's a local dairy business here and I connected with them and their marketing team early on. And there was a local cream cheese company, and so making some of those initial connections and sort of also, you think about then you can become a big fish in a little pond, that's not a bad position to be at. So when I do work here locally, that I know that I can charge a premium for that because there's not a ton of people doing what I do as there would be for somebody in LA. So absolutely, it can be advantageous. Something too, though, that I think has been very valuable about the local market that I've, built relationships too with the other photographers who are here. And that's been incredibly valuable because the further you get into it, I think the more you realize like what it is that you do and what it is that you don't do. And so when I get the leads that come in and I'm like, that's not what I do, but so-and-so over here is awesome at that. And then likewise, the same, those referrals then come kind of full circle when they get work that's like, that's not what I do, but Joni does that, right? And so having those local connections also helpful as well.
And I have so many food photographer clients that live here in Austin, Texas, and they're shooting for, the New York Times, Chrissy Teigen, like their clients are all over the country. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah. How's that feel for you, Alexis? Is that
that definitely gives me more hope, like not hope, but it's encouraging to hear that if someone as successful as yourself, Joni, can make a business work in, not a massive geographical area. And that's really, that's really encouraging. So I have approached a couple of quite a few local businesses and PR agencies, which has been helpful. And I've also, one thing I noticed was smaller brands or companies tend to not have such a big budget. And I thought, oh, well, I should look for someone bigger. But actually, I recently got my first paid gig from a really tiny, like a food truck in the middle of nowhere. And they just found me on Instagram and were like, hey, yeah, we want you to take photos and we'll pay you. So I think, that was encouraging as well. And just keep on.
Each gig sort of builds. Yeah. And each gig will build on itself. You'll learn the things, you'll figure things out, and it'll give you that shot in the arm to keep growing it. So I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you to take Edinburgh by storm. Watch out, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, and also one small tiny thing. I just joined Artificial Academy last week. And I ordered the stuff, and it's come today, and I'm very excited. So I'm
excited for you too. Man, there's nothing like that first. Have you worked with Flash before?
No.
Okay. There's nothing like you're going to have to savor it, because the moment that flash goes off for the first time and you hear that poof, that sound, it'll change your life. So just get excited. So have fun, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Joni. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
All right. And I think we have last but not least, for those of you who are here with us in the chat, thank you for hanging out and for all the positive comments, all the encouragement. There was a question for Amy, and I think I know the answer to this one. So Amy's masterclass is linked down in the description box below, the marketing masterclass. It's phenomenal. We have a coupon code, and I believe the coupon code, correct me if I'm wrong, expires October 23rd, Amy?
That is correct. But if you're watching this in November and you really are dying for a coupon code, just email me. I'm pretty generous.
That you are. So it's a phenomenal course. Also, be sure to be following Amy. I feel like you're just always dropping nuggets of wisdom. Like, I just want to like constantly just reshare what I'm like, just here we go. Here's the marketing stuff. Follow Amy. She's got all the answers. So last but absolutely not least, we have our fourth participant here today. I see him smiling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I feel like we should do like the Rocky theme song. We have David Salvatore. Welcome, David.
Hey, Johnny.
What is happening in Philly today?
It's thundering like cats and dogs. It's nothing but rain right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. Can you share with everybody? I know you from some of my courses, we've interacted, but can you share with everybody kind of a little bit about your background and what brings you here today?
Well, I've been working in restaurants since I was like 15 years old. And my original goal was to start a food blog. And then I figured out, there was one thing you had to know in the food blog. You had to know how to take pictures of food. So I went to YouTube, and the first thing I saw was the Bite Shot. So I started watching the Bite Shot, watching all your videos. And that was pretty much the end all be all. I gave up doing a food blog. I don't want to do the recipe development anymore or any of that.
Take the pictures.
Yeah, I just fell in love with the photography and decided that's all I wanted to do. I started taking your classes, Beginner Boot Camp, and now Artificial Academy. But the main thing I wanted to do was, I know what it's like to be a chef, and you go to your company's website, and when you click on dining or you click on menu, there's a certain feeling that comes with that when you're the chef. And, I just want to help chefs and help people who own restaurants really get, like, what's their vision across? What's the real message that you're trying to get through with your food, So what I wanted to know is, since I have all this experience, I've been in the business since I was 30 years, but I don't have any photography experience. And I want to know how I can use that to kind of encapsulate into a marketing strategy so I can leverage that experience to carry me into a different aspect of the food world. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And you had mentioned too in the question that you are having concerns about, marketing yourself in the midst of competing, kind of with everything that's out there. There's a lot of food photographers out there. There's a lot of people who are more experienced in the photography realm. So how to position yourself and how to market that. So Amy, what's your insights on that?
The feeling that I'm getting is that you're just a little bit in your head with like having to compete, like you're in a boxing ring, which you're not. And you should, I would say, think about it as you having 30 more years of experience than other food photographers, because you really do have an incredible advantage. And you know this, that you can speak the language of the people that you're wanting to work with.
Yeah.
So don't think about who you're competing with. Just go in there and be yourself and say, hey, I've been in this business for 30 years. I am really excited about helping you translate your vision into images. Let's talk. Just share your experiences, be yourself. That's an incredible marketing strategy. That's something that most food photographers can't even touch. So just be you. The thing that with photographers is they feel like they have to sell themselves. Like they feel like they have to convince people that they are the best photographer. People can see your work. They know whether or not they like what you're doing. You don't have to sell yourself. Just start building relationships. And again, the fact that you already speak that language, incredible.
Mm-hmm. And recently too, David just recently launched his website, so his portfolio website. Are there things on there, Amy, that just in terms of like, I feel like the About Me page is a very powerful place that sometimes is underutilized by a lot of photographers. What are things that you think would be helpful for David to incorporate in the About Me or other areas of the website to leverage his expertise?
Yes, absolutely. So your About page is incredibly important. It's the second page that people go to when they are deciding if they want to hire you, because they want to know a little bit about your personality and they want to build trust with you. So for David to say on his About page, I haven't seen it, but for him to say, I've been in this business for 30 years, people are like, oh, he gets it. He gets us. And, you know, for other photographers who are maybe have different kinds of experience, what experience do you have maybe outside of photography or outside of food photography that could be intriguing to a potential client or could help build trust? So maybe it's your client list. Maybe it is you speak 3 languages. Maybe, for example, with Alexis, she has that graphic design background. That's something that's really important to advertising. So talking about the skills that you have beyond photography is really great, because your About page is where you want to connect with people personally and build that trust.
Yeah.
It's not a sales page. You don't want to go on your About page and say, I'm a great photographer and my photos look like this. It's like, we already know, we've seen your photos. Tell me about you. Tell me why it's going to be a great experience to work with you.
Now, I have a question for you, David. So, you know, with your breadth of experience in the restaurant industry and the food industry, you know, something that people ask a lot is what's the best way to approach a restaurant in terms of talking about photography. So kind of having been in that role as somebody who's being reached out to about services, about being sold to, what do you say? What do you think is a good strategy for reaching out to restaurants? What would be your strategy?
I thought a lot about this actually. I think the first thing that I would ask is, you know, what is it that you're trying to sell? I mean, if you're walking into a pizzeria, you know, is that wood burning oven? Is that the whole point? Is that what you're after? You know, are you a brunch restaurant and you're really trying to push your brunch? Well, then that's going to affect the lighting. You know, maybe a Cucallaris on the wall with something coming in. That's going to affect the mood and the energy of the whole thing that you're trying to get. So I would ask him, you know, what exactly is the main central point? Are you selling pizza? Are you selling fine dining? Are you selling brunch? Are you selling cocktails? And then translate that into an energy. So that would really be what I ask, is like, what exactly is it that you're trying to, you know, you're really trying to push forward? Because, you know, I've designed menus for all of it, and I just have an understanding of all of that. So
understanding how the culinary drives what it is that they're doing it. Because you got to think every restaurant has their point of pride, that thing that makes them special, that thing that what lights their wick, something that gets them excited to get out of bed in the morning. Because sometimes it's hard to get out of the bed in the morning.
Yeah, especially when you do 250 covers the night before.
Yep. And you understand that. So leverage that expertise and that knowledge to empathize. I feel like the ability to empathize with people and to understand what it is to be in their shoes, you know, like when are good times to contact a restaurant? Well, usually in the afternoon between shifts, right?
Yeah.
So, so it's good. I'm good. It's good stuff. You're on the right path, man. We're excited for you.
We're getting there. Thanks.
I love it. So like Amy said, just get out of your own way. Get out of your head, man.
That's the hardest thing to do sometimes, you know.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I love it. Well, thank you for doing this. And
thank
you so much.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
I love it. So many great questions today. So many great topics that we've touched on. Again, I think that things that universally, the thing for me, Amy, that comes through is, you know, how much we can get inside our own heads and tell ourselves things. I feel like that was a common thread between all our participants. For you, I feel like a lot of what you share and a lot of your expertise is in mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So what would be one piece of advice you could share for maybe somebody? I feel like we all know when we're inside of our heads, but it's really hard for us to get outside of our heads. What's one strategy that you can recommend for anybody who's in a similar position?
Literally get out of your head, get into your body. So like go outside, go for a run, just step away from it, but also call a friend, call a colleague, because as soon as you get on, I do this because I suffer from anxiety, and I have a note in my phone that's like, okay, here's what you do when you're anxious. And one of the first things in the note is call Tanya, because I know my friend Tanya understands anxiety. And as soon as I get on the phone with her, she's like, of course you're anxious. This happened, that happened. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's okay. So call a friend, get on Clubhouse, ask a question, send me a DM, hire a consultant. Talk to other people.
Yeah. We're built for community. We're meant to be in community with other people. And I think that a lot of times when we're solopreneurs, when we're photographers, we can be very solitary. And especially too, folks who identify as introverts, like you're still introverted, but you still need that interaction. You still need those people. So I think that's wonderful, wonderful advice. So let's see, we've got 4 minutes left. If you're up for a little Q&A, Amy, from the gallery here. I love it. Was there anything in particular from our participants today that really stood out to you as something that is important for people to take away from today?
I just really want people to understand that what you're doing is valuable. I know that it probably feels like, and maybe there are a billion photographers in the world, and maybe that feels like you have to work for cheaper in order to get the work, but I really want people to understand their value. If someone is coming to you for photos and they are a business, they are making money, they have money, and they should be paying you, because what you do is incredibly important. I mean, people can't sell their products without pictures of their products. So
absolutely.
Charge it money, raise your rates, don't apologize for it. What you're doing it's important.
It is. And I would say there's this great, I don't know if you've ever seen this movie, Amy. It was a documentary called I Like Killing Flies. Are you familiar with this at all? It's about a restaurant owner on the Lower East Side of New York. I don't even think you could necessarily find it anywhere. Maybe it's on YouTube somewhere. But it's he's a real character, and it's a wonderful documentary. But one of the kind of nuggets of wisdom from that film that I always take with me is this idea that, sometimes people would say he was overcharging for what it was that he was doing. And he say, hey, look, I don't ever want to be in a bad relationship with my customers. I always want to make sure that I'm charging enough that I'm not going to resent them, because if I start charging less, that resentment starts to build, and I want to have a good relationship with these people. And that's important to me. And so people who decide that it's too expensive, then that's okay. Those are not my intended customers. And I always thought, oh, that's such great advice. Don't price in such a way that you're going to resent the work. Because I've been there. I've taken jobs for less than I should have. And then I'm in the middle of it and I'm just not inspired and I'm resentful. Have you ever been there, Amy?
Absolutely. I mean, if you lower yourself to do this job, then you're going to get on set and you're going to be in a bad mood. You're going to have bad energy. You're going to give them a bad product. Mm-hmm. It's so true. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we had a great question from Ksenia. Hey, Amy, when pitching a brand, here, I can put it up here on the screen with us, that's owned or marketed by a larger company, should you reach out to someone that's more direct at the brand, or the marketing person at the larger company, or both?
That's a great question. I would reach out to both, because there are times when a brand may pitch a photographer to the ad agency that they're working with. So definitely, if you have the time to do it, reach out to anyone and everyone.
Never hurts, right? Can you overreach out?
I will probably, but I mean, I think people should. I had this great interview with a fashion photo rep a couple of years ago, and she said, I reach out to people consistently until they tell me to stop. I think that's great because you might, a lot of my clients say, well, I'm afraid to bother someone, but people who are art buyers or photo editors or creative directors, their job is to network with people like you and to look at photography, and they probably love looking at photography. So just keep doing it until they tell you to stop or they unsubscribe, and don't take it personally.
Yeah. Keep it. Yeah, exactly. It's like some will, some won't. So what? Move on to the next. Old sales strategy there. I love it. And we'll do one more. I think we've got one more. Let's see. Great question here from Samuel. Should we adjust our style to be able to work with a particular brand, or should we stick to our own voice?
Ooh, 100% stick to your own voice and find out how you can appeal to those brands. So I just think people should decide like what brands they really, really want to work for, and put yourself out there. I mean, you don't want someone to hire you and tell you, okay, this is how we want you to do it. I don't want someone to hire me and tell me how I should give them advice. That doesn't make sense, right? Yeah, stick to your own voice, and the right people will come. Food photography can be so trendy. I see it. It can be so trendy. So having a unique voice makes you so much more valuable, I think.
Mm-hmm. And trust your process too, because I think that everybody's got a different process and a different way of approaching things, and that shouldn't be seen as a bad thing. I think that, having a good sense of what is your process and what's important to you and what is the work that you like to do and what gives you energy, that then helps you to better serve the clients who dig that and who are into that. So I love it. Great questions. Well, thank you so much, first of all, to all of our participants for being willing to show up on YouTube. I know that is a pretty big ask, that not everybody loves doing that, but thank you so much to them for putting themselves out here. Like I mentioned, all of their social medias, websites are linked down in the description box below, so you can go follow along, go check out their work, go say hi, go say some words of praise and thanks to them for making themselves vulnerable here on the live stream and for asking their questions, because I'm sure I know I gained some new insights here today. And thank you to Amy for spending this hour with us, for sharing her expertise and her knowledge with us. And like I mentioned, all of her socials, her website, also her newsletter, which you definitely want to make sure to sign up for. I feel like I get so many great nuggets of wisdom from your newsletter, but you also have portfolio reviews available. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I have openings for October now. So if anybody wants a portfolio review, I would absolutely love that.
Yeah. I remember my very first portfolio review was so incredibly scary. You feel so vulnerable. You feel so exposed, but it's you got to just think about it how's it going to feel after, and knowing too that you're with somebody who is a qualified, experienced person in the industry, and also incredibly kind and incredibly thoughtful. I think that can only be a win-win. So absolutely check out the links for that down below, and Amy's masterclass with that discount code. But Amy, thank you so much for being here and spending the time with us. It meant a lot.
Yes, and thank you so much. And I certainly hope anybody who is interested in a portfolio review knows that I'm very encouraging. I'm rooting for you. I never go into a portfolio review and say, this sucks, this sucks, this sucks. I'll say, this is what's great. Here's where we have even more opportunities. So I really want people to feel that positive energy for me. And thank you again. This is so much fun. I hope we can do it again. And
I would love it.
Yeah, if we didn't answer, if there are things we didn't answer, if anybody has another question, please find me on Instagram.
Yeah, go follow Amy. She is fun to follow. So with that, everybody have a beautiful day. You take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and we'll see you soon.